G'day, my name is Tech. Welcome to my channel Bootlosophy. I acknowledge the traditional custodians of the lands I live on here in Perth in Western Australia, the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation. Today, I'm returning to take a long-term review of these Parkhurst Richmond boots made up in Seidel Tannery's Seidel Veg Re-tan. These are Parkhurst's Richmond boots in Seidel's Seidel Veg Re-tan uppers. I bought them as factory seconds in April 2022 and I've been wearing them regularly in the last year and a bit. They were discounted from $362 to $238 at the time. The defects were minor. There was a missed stitch inside the collar where you can't see it and it isn't structural. And the heel pad inside the right boot was slightly creased when it got glued down. Again, not structural, and you can't even feel it with your foot in it. I did a first impressions video after a few weeks owning them, and you can see it by clicking up here. Even at the time, I was really impressed. I'm not going to rehash the review, but I thought I'd bring them back to you after a year's worth of regular, but not totally frequent wear. I put them on maybe four or five times a month, and I took them with me on a couple of week-long business trips where I wore them every day on sandy northern Australian red pindan soil, mainly in the dry season. For those of you who don't know, Parkhurst is a small batch manufacturer started by founder Andrew Savisco in 2018. They focus on unique, rugged leathers built on rugged but sleek-looking, almost Viberg-like service boot styles. Because of the uniqueness of Parkhurst makeups and the very personal service from Andrew, Parkhurst attracts a very enthusiastic and loyal following. During the pandemic, Parkhurst really got caught by supply chain problems and had to contend with their contracted New York factory closing down. Andrew was able to pivot though and was able to switch to manufacture in Spain, where in my opinion at least, the quality control has become actually more consistent. They still produce their plain toe Allen service boot and the Richmond model cap toe service boot, but have also come out with a mock toe boot and a Chelsea boot design. This Richmond model was built in the New York factory and is a cap toe service boot with a usual 6-inch shaft and block heel design. It was meant to look like a World War II military boot. In the original Parkhurst 602 Last from the New York days, it's a comfortable cross between a roomy work boot and a sleek, dressier casual boot. The original 602 Last was a combination last, where a narrower heel and waist open up to a full E width at the ball of the feet and providing a roomy, rounded toe. This means the boot looks sleek and modern, but is still very comfortable around the ball and the toes. As an aside, the new 602 Last used by the Spanish factory is very similar, but with a little extra room in places, and whereas some people had found the older Last a little narrow if they had really wide feet, Andrew has found that they seem to be accommodated by the new 602 Last in a single E width at the ball of the foot because of the extra room. To remind you, if you haven't watched the original impressions video, this is a 360-degree Goodyear welted boot where the welt goes all the way around the circumference of the boot. You can watch my Goodyear Welted Construction 101 video up there for a full discussion on how a Goodyear welt is made. Briefly, the welt forms a barrier between the outside and the inside where the uppers are stitched to the sole construction through the welt, and no stitch goes all the way through from outside to the inside, thus making it water resistant and easy to resole. The uppers in this case are from the Seidel Tannery in Milwaukee in the US. They have been in business since 1945 and are still owned by the same family that started the business. The fourth generation of the family is now running the business. Boot collectors and leather workers will have heard of Seidel, but you may be surprised at how widespread their leather use is. In boots, for example, they're used by all the Pacific Northwest boot makers, from Whites to Nicks to Franks and Wesco. Truman use Seidel leathers, as do Oak Street bootmakers. And smaller manufacturers like Caswell and Parkhurst take smaller runs. Outside of boots, Seidel leather is used by leather crafters and makers of bags and satchels and briefcases, belts, wallets and leather jackets. Some of the newer leathers like double shot have taken off with boot makers, and this Veg Re-tan also deserves some interest. Leather is mostly tanned in two ways. The first is chrome tanning, where the leather is tanned using chromium salts. Chrome tanning produces soft and strong leather that's also water resistant. You can also then add oils and waxes to it. Horween's Chrome Excel is the most famous, for example. It's first chrome tanned and then packed with oils and waxes in a month-long process to give it that supple pull-up effect. The biggest downside of chrome tanning is the environmental effects of the wash-off of the chrome salts. But in most tanneries, in developed countries at least, this is very effectively managed. The other method is vegetable tanning, where the leather is tanned using extracts from vegetable matter, usually bark. I guess you can say that it's the oldest form of tanning, since you can probably say that in prehistory, tanning with vegetable matter was the only way to preserve skin at the time. Veg tanning produces leather that smells like leather and is stiffer to work with and more moldable. It takes on dye a bit better. It absorbs dye and it will age beautifully, taking on a well-worn patina that looks worn in, rubbed and used. In this case, this is a full-grain hide that Seidel first tans in chromium salts to give it durability and then washes off the salts in a bath before it's re-tanned with bark extracts and vegetable oils. The double or re-tanning produces a soft matte leather with a feel soft to the touch and on the surface feels almost like nubuck, lightweight, yet firm in the hand and durable. The re-tanning in vegetable extracts eliminates the need to hot stuff the chrome tanned leather with oils and waxes, which gives the finish a less waxy and more natural, almost raw appearance. In this case, this leather is not dyed, so this is the natural color of the hide when tanned. In fact, when new, it's an orangey earth color, not unlike natural Horween Essex. Its biggest advantage to a boot collector is how it shows wear. Out of the box, they were bright and had quite a firm feel to it. As it aged, it became softer and more supple and took on the folds and creases of a leather, taking the shape of your foot and the way you move. The leather actually softened very quickly after only a week's wear, but as the year went on, and I wore it for more and for longer, it really became a comfortable wrap around my feet and molded to the shape of my feet. It doesn't scuff very easily, but the water shows through in other ways as the patina develops. It will take up water if it gets wet. It develops darker patches. But as it dries, the darker patches will disappear, and over time the overall color just deepens with moisture, with the warmth of your feet, being in the sun even, and getting the oils from your hands on it. As it is now, it's an earthy tan color, not quite honey brown that natural Chrome Excel develops into, not quite the orange-brown veg tan color that Bootlosophy's saddle tan develops, and not quite the pale bright tan that even Essex develops. I find that the combination of natural-looking matte surface, the earthy mid-tan color, and the wrinkles, creases and scuffs make this a very natural-looking leather. I have conditioned these once with Big 4, a very light conditioning coat, which did smooth out or wax out the surface, so it's not as matte as it once looked. I then conditioned it a few months ago with an Australian-made leather balm to give it a little more water protection. I'm really not sure what conditioner you could use that preserved that original matte finish. I don't know, maybe something for nubuck. I really don't know. I'm not dissatisfied though with the slightly flat sheen that's on it now, but when it was new, the matte, almost gnat-like surface, it was really nice. I'm putting here some B-roll now showing the boots as they have developed into what they look like now. I'll add more B-roll at the end of the video. In terms of QC after a year, bear in mind that these were factory seconds on the basis of some very minor flaws. Parkhurst used to contract Artisan Boot, which had taken over the PW Minor factory in Batavia, New York in 2019. Unfortunately, this closed during COVID, and in pivoting, Andrew was introduced to an Artisan Spanish factory, which he now uses. These boots were made in the New York factory, and I have always found the manufacture rugged. You don't complain that the boots are finished as rugged boots and not dress boots. So the welt ends don't quite join but overlap. Stitching was sometimes not perfectly straight. As long as it wasn't structural or the worse off pairs ended up as factory seconds at a discount, it seemed churlish to complain. After all, if you are buying rugged service boots, you're buying rugged boots, not dress shoes. In this case, after a year and ignoring the original flaws, nothing much has deteriorated other than one or two loose stitches that I can burn off with a match if that ever bothered me. The outsole has stayed on, feels firm. The heels are well stuck and glued on and nothing has torn or fallen off. As an aside, I found that 2 pairs of Parkhurst boots that I received from their Spanish runs recently have turned out better out of the box QC than the older New York made products. You can check out what I think of the new 602 Last and the Spanish produced Parkhurst Allen boot in Gaucho Mousse up here. I find these have become really comfortable after a year. I mean, firstly, as I've said, the uppers have just softened and molded to the shape of my feet. I definitely got the size right in this 602 Last. Now, I'm a US 8.5 in D width, true to size, and I got these in a size 8. At the time, Parkhurst just had one width. For me, the 602 combination of snug around the heel and the waist of the feet, and then opening up in width at the ball of the foot and the roomy round toe box, all meant that my feet felt that everything that needed to be held was held, and everything that needed wriggle room had wriggle room. As for comfort under my feet, the outsole is a Ridgeway sole made by the Harbor Rubber Company that also makes the studded day-night outsole. It's a hard rubber compound made into these wavy lugs that provide commander sole grip while also giving you good cushioning. The Benz leather midsole, cork filling, fiberglass shank, leather insole and a leather padded heel pad all combine with these comfortable Ridgeway sole to feel solid but cushioned, and the natural materials really do form to the shape of your feet. Over the year, the sole construction and the leather have meant that in the right size, these boots just got better and better in terms of all-day comfort. Right now, they feel like somebody made lambskin gloves fitted over a boot superstructure. Okay, so that's it. I know that you can't get this exact pair of boots anymore, but it is worth keeping an eye out on Parkhurst's website. This makeup may come up again, they sometimes do, and made in the Spanish factory may turn out better. Just before I finish, I'll put some more B-roll of the boots so that you can enjoy the design of these beauties. But don't forget to click on like and subscribe below, and look out for more videos from Bootlosophy. More boot reviews, boot comparisons, some how-tos, and a few best-ofs. Until then, lay back, enjoy the B-rolls, and I'll see you again soon.